This is a personality reading. So we're going to talk about the big three and the little three and see how this shapes and motivates a personality and the kind of characteristics that we can commonly see. So I went ahead and used the 7 p.m. time like we did before, since that was at one point thought to be correct. But since we're not sure, we are going to focus more on the planet and the sign and not so much the actual house it's in. So, that being said, we can't really look at the rising sign. The rising sign, we would assume, is on the horizon when someone's born. That changes by the hour and even more frequently. So, we will skip that part. What we can look at is a sun sign in 21 degrees of Cancer as the focal point. They say whenever you are lost and you're looking to find yourself, you go to the sun. That's the easiest way to align yourself with the most apparent and conscious personality traits. So if someone was to describe your friend, what your friends would say about you or your family members, they would usually be describing the qualities of your sun sign. So a person with a Cancer sun is emotional and they base their actions on feelings. So usually a Cancer sun can be seen as moody attributes. That's not always a negative thing. It's just that they're so feeling that sometimes their behavior changes just like the way the tides do, right? Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is ever changing its phases and it controls the tides. It controls our feelings and emotions. Now, in a man, sometimes this is different because society has put pressures on the male person to not be so outwardly emotional. So sometimes in a man, this is seen as brooding or pouting or um, periods of silent treatments, needing to retreat into the shell of his Cancer body to kind of create this barrier between himself and the outside world when he feels like he's had enough. On the opposite side of that, he can be very warm. The hard outer shell of a Cancer is really only to protect him from the inside softer feelings, where he can be very warm, nurturing, very empathetic to other people's feelings and needs. How he chooses to act on this will be in a somewhat related to a different sign too. But the Cancer personality, it usually has a sense of wanting other people to feel like they can be themselves around them. So they're really interested in like disarming other people. They want other people in their highest evolution, they want other people to feel safe around them. And like there's this unconditional love. It's this, even though it's a male that we're describing, it's this feminine yin energy of the mother figure who really wants people to feel like they are safe and loved. That's the highest expression of the Cancer sun. Now, if we get a person who feels like they need to live inside their shell, they're more cautious, they're more likely to put up walls. That would be the lower expression. The lower expression Cancer sign doesn't feel safe themselves. So they never really can let other people feel safe around them because they're always kind of skittish in their own ways. They don't have very good footing on the ground. They kind of let their emotions control them. One moment they're hot, one moment they're cold. And sometimes they play the victim role of, I'm acting this way because you're doing this to me. So sometimes there can be this victim mentality that they struggle with where they can feel sorry for themselves and get stuck in self-pity cycles where the ego really suffers in that part because then nothing can get done when the ego struggles in self-pity. Usually then we see behaviors of self-sabotage or emotional distress of whining or blaming or not confronting reality. The Cancer sun that is not highly evolved or in a bad place can lose themselves to imagination, daydreaming, or having these delusions almost of their situation that other people looking in might think, well, that's not entirely accurate, that's not entirely reality. But to a Cancer person who's in distress, emotional distress, the emotions are taking hold, it's hard for um, reality to really have that perspective because they will be stuck in a why me kind of mentality. But the good news is, as all this emotional energy changes, they're likely to pull themselves out of it at some point because that emotional nature, the changingness of the tides of emotion inside them, they usually can find a higher ground again and work on seeing the truth and becoming that more warm person again to others. And you'll know that has happened when they're having conversations about how you're doing and what is going on and being genuinely interested in another person. That's when they're moving into their higher expression. So now we're going to move into the moon sign, which is in the sign of Libra. So when the moon is in Libra, we find that that is the motivations of the most intimate part of a person, their soul-like nature. People would talk about this side of this person if they're so close to this person. The moon is the mother symbolically in astrology because it represents the most intimate of relationships in the human experience a lot of times. The first place we felt safe, and then how we go about finding emotional security in life. So a person with a Libra moon is looking for security from other people. There is a need for partnership and companionship that really is at the root of this person's emotional security. So he is not going to feel his highest, most secure, emotionally healthy person when he's completely independent. And not to say independent that he's only half of himself, but to say in a partnership, right? That Libra energy wants to be coupled in a matching energy of a partnership where their well-being is directly related to another person's well-being. They are the partnerships. They need to have a a commitment or a stable knowing of belonging and having this mutual interest in another being. And they need it to be fair and to appear and feel equal to them, that there's this reciprocal respect and understanding and this mutual desire to be the best versions of themselves. So now we have this person who their sun sign in Cancer, which can be a more nurturing yin energy. But then they have the moon in this partnership sign. It's actually a yang energy. People sometimes think Libra is a yin energy, but it's not. It's a yang, it's a masculine, it's a doing. So we're actively seeking this out and trying to make this happen. So this person, when not in a relationship of some kind, we usually think spouse with Libra, they're always trying to go to that. So this isn't a person that wants to be single very long. If this person winds up being single, something major must have happened. You don't see Libra moons really turn away from a relationship unless they know that something good is coming on the horizon and they can kind of trade up. But it takes a lot for a Libra moon to just cut things off and walk away when they have nothing else. So you could see that more in Libra risings or Libra suns, but a Libra moon, deep down, their emotional security comes from that partnership. So they're a lot less likely to just call it quits and be completely left to their own devices. If a Libra moon is saying that they want a break or moving on, they probably have someone else in mind that they're going to try to pursue, or they've already put something planning into that because they don't like to be single too long. If you're thinking about leaving a Libra moon, then just know when you, one of two things could happen. If you change your mind later and you go back, they might have already moved on because they really don't feel comfortable being single. Or two, they'll go back to you because no one else took them and now they're still single. So you go back and they're ready to take you back, not because they've changed or you've changed, but because they haven't found anyone else. So that being said, that doesn't sound great, but it is a great thing for a Libra moon when you feel like you both are meeting each other as equals and there's mutual respect. There's this, attraction, and then there is long-term happiness because you could probably count on Libra moon to stay committed to this partnership. But if things go south, Libra moon sometimes will still stay in it. They can be a little bit more of the, I'll just stay because I don't want to be alone. And that can be problematic for, creating these toxic relationships where they're not going to take the initiative to end it. They'll stay in there and kind of, that bad apple can ruin the whole bag kind of stuff, just because it can be it could be something that maybe they have hope for, or they're just not going to risk going out on their own. So I think it takes sometimes a more dominant sign when you have a Cancer Sun Libra Moon person. It'll take a more dominant outside energy of the other partner to really be calling the shots and making decisions and even initiating and ending some of these relationships, because this person is not looking to be left on their own. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the lesser influential inner planets. Still important. They still discuss characteristics of a personality, and they are Venus, Mercury, and Mars. So I like to start with Mercury because that's usually not too far from the sun. So this person has a Cancer Sun and a Leo Mercury. So although this person can, be the sensitive, nurturing Cancer energy, when they are thinking and speaking to others, that's what Mercury rules. Sometimes they have this air of confidence in their language, or they can really be passionate about something and be very convincing in arguments, and they can almost have this arrogance about them because they can be so confident in their delivery that they can be quite influential to other people, even sometimes when they themselves and their sun and their identity, they really don't completely believe it, but they're really great speakers in the fact of being persuasive. Now, this isn't the most comfortable place for Mercury to be in because Mercury likes to think more on a mental energy. So when they're in this fire sign of emotions and directness, and sometimes you get the foot in the mouth syndrome. So sometimes a Leo can be one of giving some misinformation because they like an audience and they like people to hear them speaking. And even if they don't always have the great facts to back it up, they're very convincing. So they can be the misinformation. And I know you had mentioned, what, maybe you're thinking about this covert narcissism tendencies. And I feel like when I see this Cancer Sun, Leo, Mercury, you kind of get that feeling from somebody because they're good at playing the victim, but then they're really good at the other side of doing what we would say gaslighting of, how dare you come at me like that? Do you know who I am? So they can play both sides of that pretty well. This is the person who can get people to feel sorry for them. And this is the person who can get a crowd to be on their side. So there's a lot of emotional manipulation potential in these two energies. And even if the intention is not of bad intention, this person could just become so swept away in emotion that they're not being as fair-minded as their Libra moon would want them to be. So there could just be some battles in communication here where this person really needs to be heard and really needs to be right and really needs to hear that they're right. So this person might talk to other people about you or other people close to them, because Leo Mercury really wants people to be on their side. They want a crowd. You know, you think of the person on the stage and the audience, that's Leo on the stage. Well, Leo and Mercury wants to be talking to a group of people. So they wind up talking to people about other people's business because sometimes they don't really think about how this will affect someone else. Am I ruining someone's good name? Well, Leo in the moment doesn't really care because they need the attention. They need to hear the reassurance that they are right and they are justified. And having a Cancer sun too, they probably already have a lot of people that feel like, oh, poor you. You've been through so much. You know, that person shouldn't be doing you that way. So it's just a big manipulation tool. So I don't think you're wrong when you think that kind of stuff, because they almost can't help it. And it doesn't mean he's a bad person. He'd be very caring, but just very needing all this reassurance and sometimes at the expense of another person. So when we move on to Venus, that's the love language here. So I think it's helpful, good news here that the Venus is in Leo, because when that happens, now we have someone who speaks extravagantly, who wants the attention. But it looks like when it comes to being a lover, this person might have potential to really give that kind of generosity and attention to someone else. The catch here is that they're going to want it back in return too. Leo Venus gets very resentful when they're not receiving constant praise and adoration. They want to know that they're amazing and they want to know why, and they want it to be sincere. And who doesn't, right? I want that. But Leo needs it. They need to know that they're doing something right. And their pride can be hurt when their partner really doesn't see that or doesn't let them know. And a Leo is nothing without their pride. They deflate when they feel like they're not being, pat on the back for every good thing they do or given gifts of surprise. Their ego needs to be fed, and they in return will be very generous about it. But if a Leo is not being celebrated in a Leo Venus in love, then they're going to withdraw and resent and pout and start, throwing their weight around a little bit to get attention in whatever way they can. Think of a toddler who's being ignored. A Leo can't be ignored. It's the death of their ego. So they will get attention somehow, whether they're bothering you or worse. They're going to do something to get your attention. And so it's in your best interest, if this is a loving relationship, that you let them know and you try to find their love language and celebrate that with them. And Leo can be competitive, so doing fun things that bring out the competitive, playful nature, making bets, doing silly races or competitions, or who can do this best, who knows better trivia, anything that can get Leo to feel like they might win first place and get your respect is really the key to winning a Leo Venus's heart. So the next one is the Mars sign. And for him, he has a Mars in Libra. So the natural ruler of Mars is Aries. The opposite of Aries is Libra. So when you have the Aries energy of Mars trapped in the Libra situation, you get a a not very well expressed Mars. So it just turns out to be a situation where Mars can't really act like Mars wants to. Mars wants to be direct and blunt and tell you something's wrong and go to war if they need to. And Libra says, well, did we try everything first? Did we try compromising? Maybe I did this wrong. There's doubt, there's indecision, there's overly thinking, and then there's no action. So you come to the standstill, and Mars really doesn't like that. So this can lead to all those almost those covert narcissistic personality tendencies, the being passive aggressive or manipulative, or the silent treatment, things like that, to kind of get their point across. To be aggressive in that kind of a way is not really healthy. We all know that. But that's the only way they can get it out sometimes, because they don't know how to scream and fight to where they think that it's effectively helping them. And so this kind of behavior comes out a lot in a healthy expression of Mars Libra. You would find that they try to go with intellectual debate, because there is this mental energy of Libra. Mars doesn't love that, but it would be a better way. I would say, if you're arguing with a Mars Libra person, instead of having the silent treatment, try couples therapy. That's a good way for Libra, that partnership desire in them, to get out their complaints in a way that they're still being diplomatic, but they're standing up for themselves. That would be an excellent route for a Mars Libra person who has difficulty expressing anger or can't seem to get things out in a way that doesn't seem like manipulative and selfish. So couples therapy is great for that. Also, using their intellect, like writing things down and then coming back to it, seeing what really still stands there, or what are they willing to put on paper that they're not willing to put into a conversation in the moment. Sometimes if they have time to just write out their thoughts, you'll get a lot more out of them than going head to head into this confrontation, because they really don't like to do that. So they might shut down in verbal threats, where if it feels like a safe space to express their thoughts, they might be able to get it out better. Like, this is the kind of person that might be texting you, firing texts, but then when you meet in person or you call them on the phone, they completely shut down and don't want to talk about it anymore. That's like that kind of backing off energy. But really, everybody gets mad and has something to say. So this person needs to say it too. He just does it better when it's not direct confrontation, but he still needs to get it out so he doesn't have those toxic, negative, narcissistic traits, because then the relationship goes south, and it's hard to turn that around when you start really getting into those kind of behaviors of toxicity, and communication completely shuts down. That no air sign needs that. And he has his moon and he has his Mars in an air sign. So he really does need to communicate. That is the answer to his trouble. And this Chiron in between the moon and the Mars, so that's our wounded healer. That means that is where he struggles. That's where he's been hurt. But that is how he feels himself and others. So it's like this, you get hurt by something, then you heal, and then you heal others. Well, for him, it is in Libra. So he learns about himself, and he gets hurt through his connections with his partners. But it's because he's trying to learn how to communicate, and he's trying to learn how to be a better partner and to be someone that he will choose the right partner for. So he might have to go through some trials of being with the wrong person and not being happy and it hurting him, so that then he can learn that he is looking for someone in particular and the qualities that he does stand for and he's willing to fight for, and not wait until things get out of hand, that he's sacrificed so much or been so dormant in the relationship just to have a relationship. He's going to learn that he really wants to be an equal participating partner in somebody's life. So between that and then the Leo energy of the Venus, I just feel like he needs to have he needs to make an effort to be someone worthy of being praised. So if he's not already doing that, maybe he needs a little shake up, like, hey, quit doing the same old thing. Like, let's get you moving. Let's get you to be your best. Because when a Leo feels confident, they really have a lot to give other people. And in Venus, that's where he shines. That's where his love is. So when he's really working on being the best version of himself, when he's really creating, Leo is all about creativity. When he's using his talents, his creative side, and Cancer has a lot of creativity in themselves too. When he finds whatever is creative and really lights him up inside, and he shares that with the world, now he can be proud of it and he has something to give. He can work on self discipline to master that creation. And then he can really feel self esteem and be willing, then, once he feels whole in this, to give that love generously to someone else and then receive it in return. So I feel like there's this energy that he just needs to be exposed to. He needs this like passion. He needs to find his passion. And that's when all this like love is going to open up in him. So if he's not already into some kind of hobby, I think he should start trying different things. And with he has this conjunction, well, excuse me, it's very wide. So Venus Mercury conjunction here. He has an 8-degree orb, so that's usually outside of what I would consider a true conjunction, but it is still in the same sign. Since we don't have house information, I think that's worth saying that when he has all this passionate conversation ability and this mental energy to be excited about something and really convince others, I think he could be using that to his strength when it comes to finding what he wants to do and to enjoy himself. A Venus Leo energy really wants to experience fun and like the joyful parts of life. So if he's not doing that, then his whole light is going to be dimmer. He needs to do that. It's part of his mission in this life. Is he's here. Some astrologers would say that in a past life, he never had that. He didn't experience true joy and fun and just the joy of being alive. So in this life, a Leo Venus really has to find joy in their own creativity or finding it in the beauty of the world, whatever brings them joy, entertainment, sports, any of those things. He is here to really explore that side of being alive. And we will see him light up through and through when he actually does that. So the tendencies for the sun in Cancer and the Libra moon to kind of just be a little bit less ambitious. Sometimes they can be settling and they can kind of be observing in their own life and let other people decide their fate. He actually needs to find for himself what brings him joy and spend time doing that and working on that and bringing that fire to his life to really feel what he wanted to experience in this life. So if he's not doing that, then that would be the big takeaway from this I would give him is, what do you like to do? What are you interested? What, when you think about, really makes you excited, right? Because Mercury, he's thinking Leo, Venus, he wants to feel that fun and adventure and love for life, that joy of his own creations or the creations of this world. So get out there, get out of the house, get out there and find what it is. Don't be sheltered in the home in the same routines and the safety of the home. Get out and experience the world. And it's going to bring a whole new perspective to him and really give him this boost of energy and light that he really wants to have. and then it'll spread to everyone else too. So that is where I will stop for the personality reading. I hope that is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much.